Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lunch for the Soul. I'm Melissa Wilson, and so happy to welcome you here today. If you needed to just be reinforced about anything in life, I have the perfect person to help you do that. She's had a really tough time, came out on the other side of it so unbelievably well. You probably won't even believe it. So let's get right to it. I'm talking about Carrie Bradshaw. Welcome to Lunch for the Soul. And I should say welcome back by popular demand.
Yes, thank you for having me, Melissa, having me back.
Our viewers love your story. I talked to you when your dream was to run the Boston Marathon because you did it and were the first to cross that finish line with double hip replacements. Unbelievable. You've got the medal to prove it right there.
Yes, I can't. I'll take any excuse I can to wear it around.
How much does that medal mean to you?
Well, this medal, it basically means congratulations, Carrie. You got your life back finally.
Let's talk about what that means to you and why you feel like completing that marathon, not even running it, but going across that finish line really made such a big difference in your life. Let's just start from the very beginning.
Okay.
For someone who might not know your story.
Okay.
You started having some weird symptoms. You were only about 40 when it happened, right? What was going on? Or in your late 30s even, right?
Yeah, I was having, I was born with something called congenital hip dysplasia. I never knew. I played competitive soccer, had run marathons. I had some pain growing up in my lower back, but I never knew. I always thought it was normal. I didn't know it was because of my hip dysplasia. Mm-hmm. Fast forward after kids, the hip pain that I kind of would experience, it got to the point where it was completely debilitating. I remember the morning, I was on a morning run and my leg completely, all I can describe it as is it locked up. It felt like the bones were grinding on each other. And I was like, what is going on? Limped home, thought maybe I was in denial. Maybe that was just a fluke. Mm-hmm. But it continued. It got to the point, where I sometimes couldn't even walk 100 yards down the street without it doing that same feeling.
And what is so important to note about all of this is once you figured it out was finding the right doctor, because most doctors, well, every doctor but one, told you would never run again.
Right. The whole process of finding my miracle doctor was probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest part of the whole journey. One of the top 3 hardest parts.
You feel like there was a little higher power involved in all of this?
Yes, absolutely. Like I told you on our last time we were on this podcast, I interviewed so many surgeons. I can't figure out how I found Dr. Stocks. And I'm a pretty organized person and I have a good memory, but I really feel like it was like divine intervention, and he was sent to me. He's my angel, my miracle doctor.
And he said you could absolutely run. He felt very confident that once you had your hips replaced, you'd be back out there.
Yes, he backed it up, of course, because I wanted to know why. I wanted the scientific, his reasoning behind it. And yeah, he felt very confident. Now there's no guarantees. And that's what I needed. Looking back, we can go dive into this later. The fact that he believed in me then and all throughout the process, I needed his belief so that I could believe in myself.
What I think is so amazing, and for everyone at home, we're talking about Dr. Gregory Stocks here in Houston. He actually hopped on a plane, flew to Boston because he wanted to watch you cross that finish line, make sure you knew you had your support system there. What did that mean to you? That one of the busiest surgeons in H-Town, it says, you know what, I'm canceling my schedule and I'm coming for you.
Right. So Boston Marathon is always on a Monday, Patriots Day. And yeah, he canceled his surgeries and moved them around. He's very busy. He's high demand. He's one of the best in the world, I would venture to say. And he made it a priority. He brought his son, and they came out to Boston for maybe 48 hours and came to watch me. I mean, I don't have the words. I'm still trying to process it all. I don't have the words to describe how special and meaningful that was to me. But it was such a gift, and I almost feel like I don't deserve how amazing he is.
I think it's so important to talk to people about how you were able to bounce back, because that is something very painful to go through. It took weeks in between each to recover. It was a lot of pain. How did you work through that? And did having such a big goal get you through that?
Yes. So actually deciding I was ready for the first one was really hard emotionally. I'll go back into detail about that later. Because I couldn't find anybody like me. I would stay up late at night in pain, Googling, can I run a marathon after a hip replacement? And I just couldn't find anybody to give me that hope. So when I finally made the decision to go through with the first hip replacement surgery, I was terrified. So yeah, the pain, when I got out of it, the pain was pretty bad. I remember feeling like it was so hard to get in and out of the bed for a couple weeks. I remember feeling like when I would use my walker that my leg was going to snap in half. I thought about how I got through the pain. Honestly, I think the marathon training in my life running's a metaphor for life. I kind of feel like that marathon training and just running in general helped me get through the pain and helped me make small goals along the way, whether it was getting out of the bed and going to the bathroom. Like I would set little goals every day. And then obviously I had my big goal to get back to running and my pie in the sky goal to get back to Boston.
I want to talk more about how you were able to pull that off and what that was like, because I want people to know how you're helping them now too. Let's go into that first. You are making a huge difference online. I've gotten to see the comments from people all over the world, because guess what? They were in the same boat as you. They didn't know that they could do things. What does it feel like to be that person who's the hope that you never had, but now you're able to lend that hope?
It's a really cool gift. I feel like I've been thinking about it. I feel like God's made that my purpose all along. I wasn't sure why I was going through this, and it really was tough, and I was in in a dark place a lot of time. But I feel like God has used my situation and made me what somebody else actually called me, the messenger to everybody in the community. And it doesn't even have to be joint replacements or hip replacements, but people who are struggling with setbacks in life or other physical, disabilities. I feel like God chose me to help guide and give others hope. And the people that have reached out to me have said that. They said, you don't know how much you helped us. You've helped me. And they all were cheering for me and following me along during the marathon. You should have seen all the messages I had. And it was a win for all of us.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very helpful for people to see and know that they can do something like that. And let's face it, most people who have had replacements aren't going to want to run a marathon, but they might want to walk a 5K, right? Or they might want to do something else. And just to know that they can certainly do that if you were able to pull that off, it's got to be a big deal.
Yeah, and just to know that, even though you can't see the light at the tunnel right away, or you're in your darkest moments, that one day you're going to see the light again.
Let's talk about what it was like to be there. So your dream's here. You got your doctor. You got all your family and friends. And I love how your family dressed all alike.
Yes.
They wanted to make sure you could see them in the crowd, right?
Yes.
So they're there.
Yes.
What are these moments like? This is a dream. This is what you've been building for. This is what you were working for, and it's here.
Right. So we had these custom sweatshirts made, and the back showed the x-ray of my new hips, and it said rebuilt and relentless. And that's what my tagline is. So my mom came, my Aunt Debbie and my Uncle Dan came. They flew in. One of my best friends, Ann, flew in, and Dr. Stocks, obviously. And then my husband and Poppy and Theo, my kids. And they were in these bright turquoise sweatshirts that got so much attention out there. My mom, she could probably sell these on Etsy.
And there's your doctor.
Oh, there he is. Oh, yes. With the sweatshirt. Those sweatshirts, it says Team Bionic Runner Babe.
I love it.
Oh, there they are. So that's Ben, obviously, and then my friend Ann. Ann Nogast is next to him, and then Uncle Dan and Debbie and my mom.
How nice to have them there. So they're there. Now the pressure's on.
Well,
now you got to pull it off. So you had run several half marathons preparing for this, but this would be the first full marathon after hip replacements.
So this was the big Super Bowl. This was it. This was the Olympics for the everyday athlete, like Meb, my coach, said. I had run 10 in the past before hips. So this was number 11. So my family, my support squad, they were at 5 different places along the course.
And that's hard to pull off for anyone who's never followed somebody during a marathon.
Yes.
That's hard to do because you have to move places. You have to time it just right. But they did that. They wanted to see you.
My mom, so I think this is worth saying, she studied She's very organized. She studied the road closures and the Boston maps and hired a driver and navigated all around Boston so they could go to 5 spots. I mean, it's unheard of. I think she could sell the maps on Etsy. We should start a side hustle.
Okay, so I was watching you during commercial breaks on my Boston Marathon app. Like, where is she? Is she still going? I was so nervous. Okay, so let's talk about, so was it like mile 12? You're like, I got this. This is a piece of cake. And then things started changing a little bit as you went along.
Yeah. So the first 10 miles, I felt great. If you play the videos, I'm like, woo, blowing kisses. Like, and everybody's like, she looks great. Around mile 15 is when things started to get hard. And I wasn't having my best day. I'm not going to complain. It was a wonderful day and I felt good, but I could tell it wasn't my best day. But around mile 15, I actually fell down. There were a lot of cups everywhere from all of the runners and gel packets, and I slipped. And I fell down around mile 15, and I remember it felt like it took forever to get back up.
Now, this is where we're talking about, you're like, woohoo!
That was like mile 10, and they're like, my friend Aunt, oh, that's our skeleton. We dressed Gus up.
Oh, I love it.
Our 12-foot skeleton. So my friend Ann, she was like, I think she's doing okay the first 10 miles. And then,
but then you fell.
And this is another.
And then your knees are all bloody.
Yes, and it scared me and I was crying. But this sweet man's, I was afraid I was going to get trampled because there are so many people out there. It's like the Super Bowl, like I said. This sweet man stopped his race and helped me up. And I even put it out on my Instagram. I'm like, if anybody knows who this man is, I would love to thank him.
Because it changes his time.
He was an angel.
It changes his time, but he wanted to make sure you're okay. I think that's incredible.
All I could say was, like, I put my hand on his shoulder and let him know, go ahead, I'm okay. So I had about half a mile until I knew I was going to see my family. And I was kind of choked up. It threw me off mentally, and it hurt. I mean, but that was fine. I ran the pain off. I saw my family. I was kind of crying. But seeing them gave me the boost, to keep going. And then I thought, you know what? I think that this fall, I don't want to say it was a gift, but I think it was a reminder from God probably, like, this is what it's about. I'm giving you this lesson again. You fell down, literally, this time.
Get up.
And you're getting up and you're going again. And I told myself that if I got through those hip replacements and the recoveries and everything else that went along with it, emotionally and physically, I can get myself up and keep going. And that changed my perspective. And even though the race got hard and felt like, I was in labor again. It was so painful. Getting back, I felt like it was my reminder that when we fall down, we get back up.
Then we see you at mile 20.
Oh, Heartbreak Hill.
And Heartbreak Hill, and you're done. This is it. You're never running again, right?
I saw my family at Heartbreak Hill. So starting at mile 17, Boston is a very tricky course. Starting at mile 17 to 21, there are 4 hills. They're called the Newton Hills. The last of them is at mile 20 to 21. It's called Heartbreak Hill. So my family was halfway up.
Heartbreak Hill, because a lot of people end there. They don't make it.
Yeah, and there's a story behind it that a guy, the history, don't quote me on it, but he lost the race there. Somebody in the years ago passed him after Heartbreak. So I think that's why they named it that. But like my family, so before I saw my family, they said people were like hanging over the barriers, just cramping up. Yeah. They could just see how brutal this part of the race was. So when I saw them, I wasn't cramping up, thank God. I felt okay given the circumstances, but in my mind I looked at them and I was like, never again. And you could see it in the video, and I wanted them to know they were all having fun and I was miserable, and never again. And I said, see you in Boston.
But it's just like having a baby. Within a day you're like, okay, I'm in, when am I coming back?
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
You're
it
just
took me a couple days and I'm like, I'll do that again. Yeah.
And so you do have plans to go back?
Yes. Well, I signed up for another marathon in October. It's in St. George, Utah. My mom's going to go with me. And I may run Houston. I'm not sure. My goal is to qualify for Boston for 2027 and go back.
You've done a lot of this for your kids. You knew they were watching every step Mom was making. How important was it for you to see that, for them to see Mom overcome all of this?
That was super special. Having them there at the race that weekend wasn't exactly the best for my stress levels to have your kids there before you're about to run 26 miles. But I knew it was worth it because I wanted them to be a part of this moment and see me in the Boston Marathon after they had remembered seeing me at my lowest with my walker. I mean, my son was crying back in the day when he saw me using my walker. I wanted them to see how special the Boston Marathon is and how their mom came out on the other side and finished it. So it was so special.
I love how they decorated your walker, though, in blue and yellow to make sure that you were feeling Boston strong, the typical colors of the marathon, even back then.
Yeah, they decorate so that, I mean, again, it's full circle.
Yeah.
What are the chances, like, I guess, when I was going through my surgeries, my husband wore his Boston Strong t-shirt. At that point, I didn't know if I was ever going to get back. It was just it was a symbol.
People from Houston who've run the Houston Marathon know it's a challenge too. I mean, all of them are in their own different ways, right?
Yeah.
So they may say, why Boston? Why are you so drawn to that?
Because it's the Super Bowl. It's the dream. It's the one. It's the shining star. It's so iconic. It's like an iconic race.
Yeah.
It's so special. The city shuts down for the day. The crowds are amazing. I have so many stories about that. It's just, unless you experience it, you can't really understand, whether you're a spectator or a runner, how special it is.
What's your best advice for someone who's going through whatever it is of how to dig deep? But maybe they're in physical pain. Maybe they're mentally struggling. How to be an overcomer? I feel like those are such important messages in life.
I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I definitely had days where my faith was tested, a lot of days, and a lot of days where I was really hurting and, struggling emotionally. But I think if you take it one day at a time and you make little goals for yourself, like I said, whether it's getting out of bed and getting to the bathroom or taking your first shower or doing your little PT exercises, if you set little goals along the way, I think that it gives you some satisfaction. It gives you feel accomplished. And I feel like at some point during my journey, I just knew that there was some reason for this I didn't understand. And so I tried to embrace it all, thinking that my story was going to be used for other people to help them. Like I found purpose. And I think that's one of the most powerful gifts and lessons I got through all of this is, yes, I was a lot faster. Would it have been awesome never to have hip replacement? Sure. But honestly, I don't regret it. Like, I mean, regret's the wrong word. I would do it again because these whole last 2 years or 2.5 years, I have gained so much more than I've lost. And I've built this community and I feel like I have purpose to help people.
And you are, and we see it every day on social media, which is so
Yeah.
beautiful to be able to see. Well, and I'm so thankful for the Arthritis Foundation. That's how I found out about you in the first place. It's so interesting how I end up meeting people because I was dressed up in a ball gown. I was wearing a Mardi Gras mask at their bone bash because a lot of people had on costumes.
Yes.
And there you are, all dressed in your beautiful ball gown, and you were being honored for
Right.
all that you've been through and all you were about to do. And I told them, I've got to interview her.
That's awesome.
And then all this time later, it's been so neat to see the progression of how far you've come. It's been remarkable. You inspire me. So I know you're inspiring people every single day.
And Melissa, like, I need to give you credit where credit's due. Like, it's really cool that you have been here since the early days because we've formed this friendship and this bond, and you've gotten to know me, and you've not only just interviewed me, you've become a part of it, and you've believed in me, and you've been just, like I said, one of the amazing people that I've met who have met through all of this, who's been so invested. I guess that's the key word, invested in my comeback.
Well, it's been incredible. And I think you call those God winks, right?
Yes,
I love that. I had to borrow that phrase because I love that so much. Was it your Aunt Laura?
My sweet Aunt Laura, I just texted her this morning. Yes, my sweet Aunt Laura taught me the phrase God winks. And so what God winks are, and you can probably do a better job explaining it as well, but when you're going through hard times or even good times and you're wondering if you're lost or, excuse me, if you're in the right place, and you get this sign, I don't know, it could be somebody comes on your path, like the guy who picked me up, who helped me get up.
He was a God wink.
Yes, it's an angel. It's a God wink. Dr. Stocks, he's beyond a God wink. I don't know what you would call him. He's like something way more extreme than a God wink. He's like a curtsy.
Well, and that just reminded me, it was so special to see you recently. So
Right.
we got to meet up at Dr. Stock's office afterwards, and you gave him the most beautiful gift. Tell him what your famous bib that you wore was part of that gift.
Right. So I knew going into Boston, I had been thinking about it. I wanted to give him something special because he has supported me in just so many ways. And like I said, I feel like undeserving of how much he supported me and has believed in me. I mean, everybody deserves a Dr. Stocks. I gave him my bib, my crinkled up bib, and wrote him a message thanking him for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. I said, we did it. And I had it custom framed with a picture of me crossing the Boston Marathon finish line and another picture of us giving each other a hug.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful gift and so thoughtful. And I don't know that you say we did it. He was a big part of that, right?
I give him credit too.
Yeah, he certainly helped. What was it like to that first run after your the very first run after your surgeries, physically, mentally, and how far did you run?
Not far. So I had to learn to just make it to the bathroom, get out of bed to make it to the bathroom. Yeah. And like I said, you take it step by step, day by day, week by week. Eventually I got to where I didn't need my walker and I could use a cane. So then I just started walking and I built up my distance. So in order to get back to running, I couldn't just go from zero to hero. Yeah. So the first day I ran, I remember my kids were out in the driveway watching and my husband videoed it. I was walking a few minutes and then I got to run for 1 minute. And I ran past him. And you would have thought that 1 minute when I ran past him,
was a marathon,
like I was crossing the Boston Marathon finish line. Yeah. It was so special and like so symbolic. I felt like at that point, okay, I'm getting back.
I feel like the biggest take-home message for people right now is those baby steps and those baby goals, because I feel like so many times we have unrealistic expectations in life, and we set this huge goal and we want it to happen tomorrow.
Right.
But it takes a lot to get there along the way. And like you said, if you can do those little bitty goals, achieve them, that builds you and keeps you going to get to that bigger goal. It's so important to do that in life for anything.
Right. And marathon running, obviously, or running in general, is a metaphor for that. And whether you're, going back to school and studying, or, you're just, like you said, trying to survive and succeed in whatever part of your life that is, you've got to break it down and give yourself little goals along the way so that you can feel accomplished and it can give you that momentum.
How do you feel like your faith played a role in all of this?
It's been really cool. Like I said, I went through some hard times and sometimes I wondered, like, did I just get dealt a bad set of cards? Maybe. But you know what? I played those cards right. And now that I am on the other side and, during some other points along the journey, it was really cool to see how God used this devastating situation, something that was so devastating for my family and me, and has given me so many blessings and God winks along the way. So it's actually just renewed my faith, and I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Is exactly where you are. And now you have big plans for the future. So how do you do this now? So you talked about going to Utah next time, and then you have some big ones to run. How much do you run a day now?
Well, I took like a week or two off basically after the marathon because I try you respect the distance and take care of your body. So I've started running gradually again. I signed up for St. George. I ran 13 a couple weeks ago and 10 this past weekend. So I'm going to build up again and try to work on getting my speed back because I'm not as fast as I used to be. So my goal is to qualify for
And
Boston.
one thing we didn't mention is not only did you run those 11 marathons now, but more than 60 half marathons.
Right.
And not even across the country, like actually around the world,
Yes.
right, in different countries as
Yes.
well.
When we lived overseas, we got to run a lot, like, in Vietnam, Australia, all over Australia, Cape Town. Yeah.
So a lot of interesting tales along the way.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
The international ones? I would say either Da Nang, Vietnam, or Sydney.
Wow.
Yeah.
All the experiences are unbelievable, all by running.
Yeah. And I love going and experiencing and seeing new cities, through running. I'm hoping that one day, I don't know when it'll be, it could be in 5 years, it could be in 20, that I get to go experience some of the world major marathons, London, Tokyo, Berlin. Sydney actually became one.
Well, you have to let us know when you do that. You promise?
Absolutely. Maybe y'all can come.
That would be nice. We'll cheer you on. Any final thoughts as we wrap up today?
Just that this whole journey has been so special and meaningful, and I really appreciate you being along for the ride and for believing in me, like I said, like Dr. Stocks. It's been extremely meaningful, and I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. And I hope that I continue to get more God winks and run more races and be back to share that journey, the rest of it with you.
I still see the light in your eyes. You absolutely will. And I still remember the day you choked me up on air and made me tear up when you called me a God wink. So thank you for that. You're a beautiful soul. I'm so happy for how far you come and how far you will continue to go.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa.
Thanks,
and you
Carrie.
are a huge God wink.
All right. That's going to do it for today's Lunch for the Soul. I hope you'll join me next time. Same place, same time. Have a beautiful day. Be blessed. Thank you for sharing your time with us.